Hi, welcome to our webinar series. This is New Jersey City University, and we are here from the Educational Technology Department with Susan
Tranchina, close, very
Tranchina,
close.
okay, close. And she's here today to talk with us because she's a Google certified trainer, Google for Education. She's at Shore Regional High School in West Long Branch, but she teaches all types of things across the country about Google for Education and their G Suite learning series. So today she's going to give us some information, and we're really happy to have her with us. We're thrilled that we could reschedule our webinar, and we're happy to have everyone here. So take it away, Susan.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Ziegler. My name is Sue Tranchina, and that was just such a wonderful introduction that I don't even have to give you one now. So there we go. We'll take that away from my presentation too. So I won't talk too much about myself. But yes, no, I'm actually a student for the master's program at Jersey City University for Ed Tech, and I'm really excited. I'm in the end of my second semester now. So I've just loved everything that I've been a part of so far at New Jersey City University. Dr. J, as we were mentioning, I took his distance learning class last semester, and it couldn't have been better timed with everything going on right now. So, and then Sam has helped me with, we just did a New Jersey TV video together that aired on live television, and that was pretty incredible too. So she was able to talk about her podcast and just different tools, technological tools that students can use to learn and to choose how they like to be evaluated, and experience some of these new emerging technologies that some teachers might shy away from using in their classrooms. So today's presentation is actually on something that I love. I've presented on this multiple times, and just pop myself up. Multiple times meaning a lot. I spent all of last year, most of my Google for Education presentations were on the Applied Digital Skills curriculum. When I first started presenting on Applied Digital Skills curriculum, there were 21 lessons, and last week they just updated to 118 full lessons right now. They're catered to upper elementary all the way up to adult learners, and there are even college professors that are now using the curriculum in class. But it's not just for education. It actually is underneath the Grow with Google umbrella as well as Google EDU. And everyone that sees and hears all of the amazing resources that are offered for each one of the lessons, they jump on board. And the first question is always, how much does this cost? And it's free. From what I'm hearing, it will always be free. And it even has a little bit of a learning management system attached to it, where if you'd like, you can opt to have your students enroll into a classroom where you can then just share lessons with them, monitor their progress, and so on and so forth. But I think as a remote learning tool, it's one of my top resources for remote learning right now. Whenever anyone asks me, what would you recommend me use? I think a lot of the times, obviously the G Suite is really, really a helpful tool. Google Meet or Zooms are really, really helpful. But other than, like, say, Screencastify, which I think might be my number one non-Google related tool, I think that Google's Applied Digital Skills curriculum can be something to not only help teachers during this time where we feel a lot of uncertainty and a lot of resources just kind of being thrown at us that we don't really know much to do with, but this is a really good opportunity for teachers to not just assign busy work while we're working with remote learning. These lessons that are offered through Applied Digital Skills really will teach your students these necessary digital skills that they will need for the future. Everything from resume writing to creating a portfolio using Google Sites, to how to prepare for a job interview, or creating an if-then adventure story with hyperlinked presentations. So there's a lot of really wonderful content. There are also lesson collections, and I'll show all of that to you when I go into present mode. But there's also lesson collections that have been prepared for veterans who are trying to get a civilian job after just being a part of active military. I was set to actually do a presentation down in Louisiana for some of our service members down there, and of course now we're not going to be doing any traveling, so that's been postponed. But it's really, really helpful, and I'm going to right now. I'm going to share the link to my presentation in the chat. But if you'd like to tap it in to follow along, you're more than welcome to. Let me come back over here. So I just shared it's a bit.ly, and this will stay in my drive. You guys will always have access to it. Of course, from 2 weeks ago when we were supposed to have our original meeting until now, Google's marketing department completely revamped the whole presentation. So this one is actually just a little bit different than the older one. It's actually more updated, which is really great. There are, I think, like 60 something slides, and I'm not presenting all of them to you today. So today is going to be more hands-on, but I wanted you guys to have this resource. So you can save it to your drive, and I want you to have this resource just so that if you want to share this with someone, whether it's your students, whether it's some of your colleagues, please feel free, share away. It is just a really incredible resource, and I think it's just underused because people don't realize that it's out there. I like to tell everyone it kind of feels like a teachers pay teachers, but every single one of the lessons are free. So it's a really cool tool. Okay, so I'm going to go into present mode. I'm tired of looking at my own face. So, and we're just going to explore this tool. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to interrupt me. We're a moderate level group right now. So yeah, if you have any questions or if something's not working correctly, if like one of my links are broken, please feel free to just give me a shout out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and, well, I guess I can just open it on my own drive. Just a rule of thumb, what I'll do is I'll turn the chat off. I'm going to go into sharing my own screen. We'll just do the full desktop. I don't think I have anything up. Okay, can everybody see my screen right now? Great, excellent. Thank you for the thumbs up. Okay, so let me minimize this. And here we go. So today's presentation, again, if you follow the link, it's bit.ly/all caps. This is case sensitive, Google 429. So that's the link to today's presentation. If you have a little button up top that says save to your drive, you can save it in your drive, or you can even go file, make a copy. I know some of you guys that are in this group are teachers or are professors. So again, this could be a great resource to share with your students. I actually continued the old presentation. I restarted it exactly the way that they have it from slide 11 on. First 10 slides are just the ones that I'm going to go over for today. So if I go full screen over here, you'll see that this is our presentation. If anyone's on Twitter, I'm on Twitter. I'm pretty active on Twitter, at Tranchina. My YouTube channel has, I think, almost 200 subscribers now. So that's how to it's Sue, which is growing, and I'm excited about it. But today's session is through New Jersey City University, the spring webinar series presented by our Department of Education Technology. Okay, so normally in a 2 to 3 hour presentation on this is what we would cover. Today we are not going to cover all of this. I'm just going to show you, the basics about the Applied Digital Skills curriculum and the ways that this can benefit you and your students if you'd like to share it with them. But normally this is what the workshop would cover. This is Applied Digital Skills. So we have an introduction to our Applied Digital Skills. I am going to show a video. If you don't hear my audio, let me know. I did have that issue once. It should work just fine. But I'm going to show the meat and potatoes of Applied Digital Skills in the video that Google for Education made for everyone to see. But I am going to jump over here just to give you a brief explanation first before we get started. Applied Digital Skills is a free video-based online curriculum that prepares students of all ages for the growing number of jobs that will require basic digital skills. Essentially, this was created underneath the Grow with Google umbrella, but underneath the 10X style of thinking, meaning if you want to change something and you want to improve something by 10 times versus, just making something a little bit better, you have to rethink the way that the delivery occurs. So Google worked with teachers, and they worked with professors, and they worked with big major corporation CEOs and CFOs, and they basically said, okay, how are we going to best prepare our students for the future? A lot of schools are one-to-one, a lot of schools have devices right now, and we want to be able to support the teachers so that they're actually providing the students with lessons that will be efficient for them to utilize this technology, so that the students can embrace the technology. And I always say that I like the Applied Digital Skills lessons because it's project-based instruction, but the student gets this like little goodie bag at the end where they don't even realize that they've learned something new, which is really great. So So moving right along, this is the Applied Digital Skills site. So if you are following along on the presentation, if you click that link, it will bring you to this Applied Digital Skills site. You can see I'm already signed in as a teacher. I'll show you what that looks like in a second. But the first thing that I'm going to do is click this play button, which is where I direct everyone to go in the very beginning. And when I do my workshops, this is where I begin. While we're doing this, what I'd like to show you is these three little dots over here. Some people call this the snowman or the kebab. You'll see that on a lot of the Google tools, but when you click that, you get a couple options. So students not having connectivity is a really big issue right now, and all of these video lessons can actually be downloaded and then provided to the student either on a device that they can work offline on a flash drive, or if you don't have great connectivity, you can download the videos and then rewatch them after they've downloaded. Turning captions on and off, this is a really great accessibility tool, not just for our special education students or our English as a second language students, but also for all students. Whenever I show any video, I always turn our captions on. So just by clicking on that, now we have captions on. And finally, the third option is your picture in a picture. So every single one of the 118 video lessons is broken down into multiple videos, and you can do all three of these things with each of your videos. So I could come down here and I could open up a new tab, and when I do, this video will actually still play no matter what tab I have it opened in front of. So even if I was working on a new document or if I had minimized my screen. Okay, so here's the video finally.
The role of schools has changed drastically because of the use of technology. It's no longer sufficient to be just a textbook and paper classroom.
Applied digital skills is like a website that you go on and it'll give you a task and work you through it using videos. At the end of the video, it's going to have like a list. Step 1, do this. Step 2, do that. So you're going to do it yourself. And it's going to like this spreadsheet.
Employers are looking for students that have the collaboration skills that a lot of them are not coming out of high school with. This program feeds right into that need. Very seldom do you have a project that engages all of your students all the time. And the Applied Digital Skills seems to do that.
We do mostly fun activities, like when I say dream vacation, Paris, the city of the love. I really want to go there.
The video material gives me more freedom to interact one-on-one with my kids. To have that kind of relationship with them is what makes my classroom one of their favorite classes.
We could be ourselves and have fun. Yeah.
It's teaching so many of the skills that our kids need once they leave high school or even start jobs in high school, from the critical thinking to the collaboration to organization skills. All those things are wrapped into this program. And to be able to utilize that across the board at all schools, I think would be invaluable.
Okay, so that's your basic background on Applied Digital Skills. And then this is where you would start off. So they have a lot of different resources on the main page for teachers and for students. If you guys want to, you are more than welcome to sign in as a teacher. What I like to tell people that attend my webinars is to open up a second window and, if possible, drag me to the side while you're navigating through Applied Digital Skills, just so that you can explore all of the awesome options that Applied Digital Skills has to offer while you're sitting here, and you're not sitting here forward watching me navigate the whole entire time. So you guys can make this learner-centered, and you guys can explore on your own. Okay, everybody okay? Oh, I think we have a chat. We got some chat. Yes. Can you access Applied Digital Skills if you are not working in a Google school? That's a wonderful question, Dr. J. The answer is yes. You can access all of these tools. And the one thing, sorry, I get distracted when I see the chat. So the one thing that I will say about Applied Digital Skills is, let me just exit out of that, is that if you do have a Google account, you are able to access all of the resources that they have. Some of the resources are on Google Sheets or Google Docs, and they'll provide those resources for you to download as exemplars. You may need a Google account to access all of those. Okay, so jumping right into Applied Digital Skills, if I come over to the main page, The first thing that I'm going to do is show you as a teacher what this is going to look like. So I have my teacher and I have my profile page. So this is where you can make any modifications. It's a profile page. If you wanted to switch to student, or if you accidentally logged in as a student, you can change that here. I have current classes. Archived classes was actually just added. If you look at my class list, you'll see that I need to archive some of my current classes, but I can just simply hit the current class button, or I can also hit my classes and they will both bring me to this area right here. Now, the first time that you actually create your first class in Applied Digital Skills, Google will send you a thank you poster. So if you create an account and if you create your first class, you'll get this little button over here that says order a free poster, and you get a free 18 by 24 inch beautiful poster to hang in your classroom, or to go behind you while you're doing your remote instruction, I guess you could say. And that's pretty cool too. So I always have a lot of the people that come to my webinars or come to my actual in-person sessions on Applied Digital Skills, when they do get their posters, they'll send me themselves with pictures holding up to the posters, which is exciting. Okay, so you get these class cards. This feels a little bit like the learning management system, Google Classroom. These class cards are different classes that you can have. So this was the one that we were gonna originally have, and then I decided that I wasn't going to enroll you guys into the class today. I'm just going to have you guys explore as a teacher, but I did create one for our class. So if I click on this, just to show you from a teacher's perspective what this will look like, I have assigned 2 lessons. One is writing an if-then adventure story, and one is building a portfolio using Google Sites. Probably my 2 favorite to be a part of, to assign to my students. There it is. And I do want to show you also that, just similar to Google Classroom, you'll get a code for your students to enroll in. So your students would come to the Applied Digital Skills site, and then they would sign up as a student, and then to join your class, just like Google Classroom, there would be a code. Now, I'm very curious as to eventually if this will become if this will integrate with Google Classroom, where your Google Classroom code will also give you your Applied Digital Skills curriculum access code as well. But this is a really great tool because you can then, when your students do join your class, they'll be able to see the lessons that you've assigned to them, and then you will be able to actually monitor the progress that they've made throughout each of the different lessons as well. So you can see I'm the only person that's enlisted in the class here, but if I were to have more students, I can show you that a little bit later, I'd be able to monitor their progress. So why, as a teacher, would I want to assign anything from Applied Digital Skills to my students, or which lessons are interesting enough for me to assign? Well, that's going to really be a case-by-case base for you, depending on what you teach. You can see when I click on lessons that this is what's going to bring me to the curriculum, and the curriculum starts with collections. Collections were added, I'd say, about 6 months ago, and they're incredible. If you're a teacher that's thinking about having your students prepare for, or if you're trying to prepare for the G Suite certification test, teachers can take this as well as students. If you wanted to prepare for that test, there's actually a collection called the G Suite Certification Exam Prep. And I'm actually delivering a G Suite Certification Exam Prep based off of this collection. I'm delivering 4 one-hour sessions at a school in Pennsylvania next week. So if we were to click on this, it will bring you to all of the Google tools. I always like to tell everyone, if you're thinking about becoming a Google certified educator or trainer, this is a really great place to brush up on all of the different tools prior to you taking the test. So everything that's in Applied Digital Skills does have the ISTE seal of alignment for the standards, which is really great. And that's definitely a nice selling factor, I guess you could say, on when people ask, how and why do you use this in your curriculum? It's really supported on helping students and helping teachers integrate effective technology into their curriculum. Okay, so coming back, this is again underneath lessons, collections. I'm underneath the G Suite certification exam process. And you can see here that this is just a brief collection to show you that in 45 minutes, you will learn from Google for Education how to use Drive or Gmail. If you come down here, we have sheets or slides, and a lot of these are broken up into different sections. So I've had actually multiple teachers who have reached out to me before asking for training, and then whether their schools end up not doing professional development for them or whatnot, and I'll recommend them come right over here and check this out. These are some really great resources. If you click on slides part 1, it will bring you to an Applied Digital Skills lesson on Google Slides, and you'll have all of these different videos. But before I show you too much on here, I wanted to dive into the other lessons. So to get back to our lesson bank or library, whatever you want to call it, you would click the lessons button. In addition to these collections, where you can see that they've just implemented some remote learning tools over here too. So teach from anywhere, learn from anywhere, and work from anywhere. So these are 3 lesson collections that were actually created because of quarantining, because of schools being shut down, and because of remote instruction. As we scroll down, there's even some information on these collections on digital citizenship, there it is, which are really, really helpful for schools that maybe don't have a curriculum about digital citizenship for their students. Down further, you'll see the whole lesson bank. So there are 118 different lessons here. Each one of these are comprised of anywhere from 1 to, I think the most I've seen is like 15 videos, where they break down the lesson into different steps to prepare your students for whatever it is you're assigning, but so that they can also be guided through the lessons. I think that the biggest selling factor here is that I've been a project-based learning instructor now for almost 11 years. And the hardest part about effectively assigning a project to my students is that I have to create a lot of content before time. And I don't think that that's a secret to anyone that's working in education. If you want to assign a project to your students, a lot of the time you need an example project, a rubric to show them how they're going to be assessed. You know, if you're going to flip your classroom, then you're going to do step-by-step video tutorials, especially now with a lot of schools not having, well, almost I think all the schools not having face-to-face instruction. So, so each one of these lessons are actually flipped for you. So yes, you're not leading the lessons, but I do also assign these in person in my business technology class, and my freshmen love these. I've even had a freshman student one time before say, let me stop my share real quick. So I'll talk right to you, and so you're staring at the same screen. But I had a student, a freshman once say to me that she liked when I assigned applied digital skills because she learned more when I wasn't teaching her. So it was funny because I was like, Alana, you're gonna have to elaborate a little bit on that. And she said, you know, we were working on creating resumes using Google Docs, and she was talking to me. She asked me to come over. I sat down. She was like, Alyssa's resume is way better than mine, and I think I need to like join some stuff in high school so that I can get into a good college. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so we sat there and we chatted, and I helped her out a little bit. And that's when she was like, you know, you sitting next to me and talking to me, I like that better than when you sit in front of the room and yell at everybody the whole time. I'm like, oh, it's my teaching style. Thank you. But it's the reason why we all get into education. You know, we want to build authentic relationships with our students. And sometimes you're just so worried about tech working, and you're so exhausted from prepping and planning the night before that you forget to give them high fives as they're walking out the door, or, you know, ask them how the football game was on Friday night, or talk to them about prom hair, you know, and you forget about those authentic relationships because you're so stressed out about other stuff. So this has just been a tool for me where I can focus a lot more on those authentic relationships. So, okay, diving back in. So underneath lessons on applied digital skills curriculum. So again, underneath lessons, we do have the 118 lessons right here. And you can sort these by most popular, most recent, the duration, and so on and so forth. You can also search. So this search was actually, I think I was in Wisconsin presenting on this the first time that I realized that that they had listened to my prayers about needing to have a search bar for all of these lessons, because I was teaching people how to use Control F or Command F to find things on a website during my presentation. So if you were to search for something, so say the portfolios is the one I'm going to use as an example, portfolios, you can see that as I type in portfolio, 2 of the 118 lessons come up: creating a responsible blog with Google Sites, or building a portfolio with Google Sites. Other filter options that are here, late elementary, middle school, high school, and adult learners. So if you guys are college professors and you wanted to narrow down the search for lessons that are directed to adult learners, now we have 40 of the 118 that are geared to an adult learner audience. Now, some of them may also be geared toward a high school audience, and as the teacher, you would just drive this to your curriculum. So planning an event is going to look a lot different in a planning an event if you are teaching a college level course versus if you are teaching a middle school course. But planning an event is also going to look a lot different if you're a history teacher teacher and you want your students to plan an event from the 1920s that actually happened, versus if you are a video production teacher and you want your students to plan an event for a movie premiere, say. So just clicking on that, you'll see that each one of these have a brief understanding of what's happening here, and then a lesson breakdown. So the course introduction, selecting and researching the event, planning with a spreadsheet, communicating with Gmail and calendar, creating a logo, and so on and so forth. We do have a message in the chat. Can you share or assign lessons to an adult learner in an LMS like Blackboard or Canvas? So you can have your adult learners join your class on Applied Digital Skills, and then you can assign them the lessons. So if I hit add to class on planning an event, I would be able to assign this to everyone that's in the class, no matter what type of a device they're on. So where is our, you guys got a lot on here that need to be, come on, so you can find it. New Jersey City University. So if I click that button and then hit add to class, now this will appear in our class assignments. And then as the teacher, I can monitor the progress of each one of the students that are in here. So let me actually come back to my class cards, and I'll go to our Kicker Learning Virtual Summit where I had some students, or I didn't have any students in there apparently. Okay, let's try this one. Okay, here we go. So as a teacher, I would be able to monitor the progress that they make through each one of the sub-lessons, if you want to call them that, and you would be able to see through this legend that a student is currently working on this activity, the steps that they've completed, the percentages that they've completed in each one of these lessons. So if I wanted to assign that lesson, another thing that you could do if you didn't want to monitor their progress, if we come back to lessons, let me just exit out of the chat real quick. If we come back to lessons, I'm going to go to portfolio because that's what we're going to work on next. Portfolio. So building a portfolio using Google Sites. If I wanted to assign this lesson to my students, I do have some options that are right here. So I could even just copy and paste this link for my students, or if you do use a learning management system like Google Classroom, you could simply click the Google Classroom button and it will ask you which classroom would you like to share this with. So if you're in a district that has Google Classroom, this is the way that you would share it. As far as I know, it is not integrated with Canvas or Blackboard yet, but again, sharing that link or having your students check your class that they're a part of on Applied Digital Skills will enable the students to be able to see the lessons that you're assigning to them. Again, no matter what type of a device they're working on. Okay, so this is what one lesson will look like, one of the 118. And when I start to tell people that the lessons have all of this content on here, their minds are a little bit blown. But yes, all 118 lessons and the lessons that are part of the lesson collections have all of this content. So again, I can assign this lesson straight to my students using Google Classroom by simply clicking this button right here, and that will bring them to Google Classroom. I keep on losing the top of my screen a little bit, even though I don't think that you guys can see that. So let's get out of that one and out of that one. Okay, if I wanted to introduce this lesson to my students, whether I was teaching in a synchronous or an asynchronous manner, I could say, okay, everyone, please work your way through the building a portfolio with Google Sites, but I'm an art teacher. So instead of making a portfolio for yourself, you're gonna actually make a portfolio for a famous artist, and you're gonna use some of their famous paintings or some of their famous drawings. Or I'm a business teacher and you're gonna do it about a famous CEO or a local small business. You're going to make them a site. Okay, so there's a lot of different ways that I could tailor this to my students where they'll go through these different lessons, but they'll modify it for my own lessons. Building a portfolio maybe for a musician from historical times. I don't know, maybe from the 1800s or the 1700s. Okay, so coming down here, you'll see that now this is one of the more basic sessions. So sharing your work by creating a portfolio website using Google Sites. If you're an adult learner and you don't know much about Google Sites, because I do a lot of workshops on Google Sites, and a lot of people who are advanced with technology will actually take the workshops because Google Sites is something that they don't know much about. So building a portfolio with Google Sites, if I click on this button, now a Google for Education, somebody who works with portfolios for Google for Education is going to lead your students through this lesson. So to show you how this will look.
There are many ways to showcase your skills. You can use a resume, a personal website, or even social media. Another way is to create a portfolio, which can combine all three. A portfolio is a collection of your best work. It provides insight into your talents, skills, and personality. Portfolios showcase many different types of work, including writing.
And so just like we had before, we have the 3 little buttons, a kebab or the snowman, where you can turn your captions on and off. You can do this as a picture-in-a-picture, or you can download this video to share with your students. So if I make this into a picture-in-a-picture, then while this is going on, I can open up a new tab
Art or photography,
for
coding, and teaching.
sites.new.
In addition to showing off your work, your portfolio demonstrates your personal values,
And
accomplishments,
as he's instructing me on how to create a portfolio, I can actually follow along on Google Sites, preparing a Google site and going step by step. So this was really helpful because my freshmen always want an excuse to be able to use their phone in the classroom. And they would say, oh, well, I have to watch the video while I'm working on a doc, so I have to use my phone for the video. And now they don't have to do that anymore because this will just pop out. They can open up a new site, a new doc. They can minimize this screen back here. And this guy will still, now you guys are all seeing all the icons I have back there, but like airing my dirty laundry. But you'll see that then he appears back down here, and I can watch this while I'm working on my site, and he's instructing me on what to do. Hitting this button brings me back to the tab that I originally found this on. Now, for some of our learners that maybe need some accessibility tools, every single video has a transcript. So in addition to closed captionings, you can have a full transcript, and this is an interactive one. So if I wanted to jump to the end so I could show you the now it's your turn section, I can click this button.
It's your turn. Sign into your Google account. Open Google Sites and create a new site.
Okay, and every single video will end with a now it's your turn. So when I'm teaching synchronously, Dr. J, who taught me all about that, when I'm teaching synchronously in class with my students, I'll show this video to them, and then I'll put this up on the board. They have access to the video, so if they need to rewatch a step, they can rewatch it. We've watched it together, so they can't tell me that they watched it even if they didn't. And then they don't, I eliminate those questions of, Ms. Tranchina, I signed into my Google account, what do I do next? So now the questions that I'm getting are, Mrs. Tranchina, I just created a new site. Can we move on to the next step? You know, suddenly they're breezing through all of those lessons on, you know, all those questions about, you know, maybe you know, the management of the tools, and instead they're asking me really high-level questions about the application of my own instruction and of the instruction of the presenter on the screen. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move on to the next video. So I can either hit the next button, where the next video will show up. Again, we have the transcript, which I'm gonna hide. And I wanted to show you all the videos also have this playback speed.
In this video, you'll prepare your new site for uploading work. To begin.
So while he's speaking, if I'm if I'm a learner that just needs everything to slow down a little bit, I would hit the slow button here.
Create a site design by applying a theme, adding a title.
And I always joke about this, and I never present this in New Jersey, so maybe we'll actually laugh to this one. If I'm from New Jersey, I can modify this playback speed to fast.
And changing the header or footer on your website. You'll start with your homepage. This is the first page viewers will see when they go to your website.
Okay, and then I'm going to turn that back to normal before I forget, and that's just another way that you can make this accessible to your students, whether they are really fast learners or they're slower learners, and you want to differentiate these lessons. You'll see up here we have instructions on what you're going to learn in this lesson, and then if we come all the way to the end for the now it's your turn, it will break this down for your students. Again, every one of the sub-lessons in every one of the 118 lessons has these videos that guide your students through these different lessons. It's just your responsibility as the teacher to take these resources the same way that you would take maybe like a book or a blank slide deck, and have your students utilize these resources and apply them to your class in a different way. Okay, coming back to lessons, I want to show you, now we just lost that. You know what I'll do is, instead of portfolios, we'll jump to something else. So let's go to resume. Ooh, this is a good one too. Okay, so we'll go with creating a resume in Google Docs. So I have my freshmen actually work through this lesson. This is one of the ones that I assigned for them. And you'll see that this is broken down and the videos that have been watched. This is under my personal account. My school account has all of these watched with an activity reflection where if my students are logged in, I will see their reflection right in Applied Digital Skills. Again, when this works seamlessly with Google Classroom, it will be a great day for me. But for now, it does not. So if I am working through this, what I wanted to show you is in addition to all of these videos. So here's your welcome video from someone who got hired at Google, teaching someone how to write a resume instead of their teacher who hasn't updated their resume in like 11 years.
Hi, I'm Ria Elena. I work on Google's education team and live in Switzerland. A resume is a valuable tool that can help you apply for jobs, internships, schools, and special.
And again, it's not just for students. So this might be, you have a colleague or you have somebody graduating college who needs to prepare this resume. And this is a really, really great way for you to give them advice without you having to spend hours upon hours preparing that advice for them and the resources for them. Okay. Coming back, I can click on this button, which will bring me back to all of the different lessons. And then I'm going to come over here underneath teaching materials. So this is kind of what, yes, honey. Sorry, guys.
I'm going to show you something.
Okay, honey. Very cool. That's so cool. Okay, honey, mommy's doing a lesson, okay? Okay. So this is what made me, this is what teaching from home, this is what made me go all in on Applied Digital Skills. So underneath teaching materials, every one of these 118 lessons has these 4 boxes. Some of them don't have this one, some of the older ones, but most of them have all 4 of these. For professional development, if you work your way through any of these lessons, you can give yourself a certificate of completion and apply that toward your professional development hours if you're a current teacher. Over here where it says lesson plan, this is where things get really cool. Hold on one second. Cameron, you just gotta lower the volume. Okay?
It's always when they say this is going to get really cool that they walk away.
Very good. You can have chocolate when mommy's done with her lesson, okay? It's the bribery. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, so the lesson plan over here, we have every single one of the 118 lessons has a lesson plan with scaffolded objectives for different style learners and different level learners. And it's also broken down into the sub lessons as well. So I hate writing lesson plans. I don't know many people who enjoy writing lesson plans, but you can just copy and paste these lesson plans and these essential questions for your lesson plans for the week that you decide to use this. Each one of the lessons also has different material content. And then if I scroll all the way down, keep on going, my different resources. So what it'll have is it'll have different resources right here on the lesson plans for brainstorming your resume, which is one of the steps that it guides the students through. For your first draft, your final draft, and then a project evaluation rubric. So the resume final draft, if I click on this, is something that I could share with my students and say, hey everyone, here's an example of what my expectations are. You're gonna create a resume for a famous historical figure, or you're gonna create a resume for yourself maybe, or for, I don't know, a famous athlete or a famous chef. And so you're going to create a resume for them. Now your students are learning the skills of resume creation while they're actually creating a resume for someone else. And they're learning from these different tools. I think that one of the hardest things when it comes to project-based learning is that you want to make an example for your students and because with projects, you can't just say, okay, this is an A and this is a B. You have to show them what your expectations are. And sometimes making those example projects is what takes so long for project-based learning instructors, or now remote learning instructors. And then teachers suddenly give up and they shy away from having to show their students or assign their students project-based lessons because they don't want to make that example project. They don't want to have to actually do it themselves. I find that a lot really as a video production teacher. If I want to assign a new project, I feel like I have to find a project that meets all of my criterion, and I can't do that. I'll just have to make it all myself. So this is really great because I can even, file and make a copy of this, save this to my drive, make different modifications right to this, and then share this with my students and say, hey guys, this is our end goal. This is where we want to this is where we want to be finished. And it actually is going to be the one that will be referenced in the video tutorials that guide your students through creating a resume in Google Docs, or creating a site, or creating a slide deck, or whatever else it might be. If we come back to the lesson, so right here on your lesson plan sheet, you'll see that we have a project evaluation rubric, but also that sample rubric is right here, because the only thing that's probably worse than writing a lesson plan is writing a rubric. So if you click on rubric, you actually, each one of the 118 lessons has not just a rubric for the teachers to assign these lessons to their students with total clarity on what the expectations are and what their grade will constitute of, but they also have these broken down into the subcategories too. So if I just zoom out a little bit, you'll see that these are broken down into the different categories for the grading criterion. But if I even come down further than that, and this one only has one. Now look. Oh, here it is. Okay, the resume brainstorm document is the first one. It has more than one, and then the second one is creating a resume in Google Docs. So it's broken down with the brainstorming. So the first part, and this would be the rubric for that, and then the second part is creating that resume. Now, Google Classroom, if anyone is a Google Classroom learner or user, just started something called Rubrics, and I've been asked to do a lot of lessons on advanced assessments in Google Classroom because of the new rubric tool. And it's a really, really awesome tool. But even if you are just someone who's always making rubrics, or if you're someone who's trying to create rubrics in Google Classroom from scratch, even if you just use Applied Digital Skills for this rubric tool, and you're like, oh, you know what? I'm going to assign something and I want to see what Applied Digital Skills recommends for the grading criterion, you can come through some of these rubrics and just, it's not stealing, it's collaboration. You can just collaborate along with them and highlight some of these, and these can be your different tiers for your level of performance for your students. And finally, if I make a copy of this, what I used to do back in the day, like a month ago before there were rubrics, 2 months ago, I guess now, is you can make a copy of this in your own drive. And sometimes it takes a little while to load, but now this is a copy that's in my drive. I can change the name of this to Tranchina, creating a resume in Google Docs rubrics, and then I can actually insert a row above here, and I can say 1 point, 2 points, 3 points, 4 points, and then send this off to my students, have them all fill out their names, and then I can go through this one by one and just show my students how they scored certain points. Send this back to my students. I have effective feedback. They know that if they'd like to resubmit for a better grade, what areas they can do better in. And I think that with project-based instruction, that's one of the areas that a lot of teachers struggle in, is when a student says, well, I got a B, how do I get an A? And you're like, just do better. So it's really, if the effective feedback is a really great tool when it comes to using really great rubrics. And creating really great rubrics takes a lot of time, which we as teachers and professors do not have a lot of these days. So again, please use these resources. They're really great. They're here for you to use. And once again, you would find those underneath every one of the lessons, underneath teaching materials. They all have a sample rubric. Okay. Downloading all videos will download all of the videos to whatever device you are on. So if you don't want to link, actually, Sam, that's a really great recommendation too. If you wanted to use this in something like Canvas, or if you wanted to use this in something like Blackboard, you could actually download these videos and then share them in other learning management systems besides Google Classroom. So that would be an option for that too, I believe. Okay, so Applied Digital Skills. So that's going to be the meat and potatoes on Applied Digital Skills. Again, I'm going to come back into the lesson collections, but I also want to show you, we've filtered already by our audience, But if I come on over here to the digital tool, maybe some of us, since you know, in ed tech, a lot of us tend to be high-level technology users. You know, maybe some of these lessons are beneath us. So if we were to go to adult learners, you know, some adult learners really do like some challenges. So even for me, some of the things I don't know much about would be, well, planning and budgeting, but my husband will agree on that one. The app script button is over here. We have calendar, docs. You know, obviously some of these are a little bit lower level when it comes to education, but maybe you're in a part of a brand new Google school and you just don't know how to use some of these tools and you want to learn more. You can then take this button and just select, you know what, I know how to use Photoshop, but I don't know how to use drawings, and that's what I have to assign to my students. And that's Google Drawings is a great tool. So then this will show you some of the lessons for adult learners that incorporate drawings. If we take this off, then you get 12 out of the 118 lessons. And again, if you look at these, besides the really business related ones like the portfolios and the resumes, there's items on here that's just making a promotional flyer or drawing an infographic, which is a really big buzz term in you know, the K through 12 education circuit right now. Students are really embracing these new infographics because they really are loving designing things. And as a teacher, you know, you can come on here and you can say, okay, guys, I'm going to give you a choice for this project. You can either, you know, we're going to learn about X, Y, and Z. You can either make a promotional flyer, design an infographic, or design and share a digital badge, or I don't know, make a portfolio using sites for you know, the 1920s, the Roaring 20s. So you know, and these are different ways that you can implement these projects into your curriculum, no matter what you are teaching, no matter what grade level you're teaching as well. The final filter tool, which it's probably my least favorite part about applied digital skills, is narrowing down for topics. I think that well, first of all, it's not, maybe because I'm zoomed up. Maybe it's because I'm a creative person and I like to take a lot of lessons and tailor them to the curriculum that I'm currently teaching. And I think that this kind of eliminates some items. So for example, if I click on art, it's going to show you the 9 lessons that incorporate art. So designing an infographic with Google Drawing, creating a photo journal, creating a digital picture book, and so on and so forth. But the one thing that's not on here, and making art with Google Sheets, I actually assigned this. It talks about conditional formatting in Google Sheets to create pixel art. So the kids love that and then learn conditional formatting too. However, the one thing that it doesn't have on here, if you look through this, is the one that all of the art teachers I recommend love using, and that's creating the digital portfolio in using Google Sites, where they can make a digital portfolio about an artist. So I do think that it limits too much. It filters too many of the lessons out, but again, you know, some of these other filter areas are really, really great for anything else that you happen to be assigning. The digital citizenship is a really big buzzword right now, and there's 7 different lessons that will actually support digital citizenship in your own district too. And to close out on everything that's applied digital skills, I'm in the wrong spot now. I'm going to come back to my classes. And I did just want to show you, in an effort to show you how to start using applied digital skills in your own class. If I were to click on this create a class, it's as simple as this. You click that. So back in my classes, if you don't see my classes here, it might just say classes. If you haven't created a class yet, that's what it used to do. If I hit create a class, and I could say that this is my sample 429 class, choose whatever color you'd want. If you are an upper elementary school teacher, this is just for Google Facts. They haven't changed this yet, but we are all adult learners. So I would hit create, and then this is my brand new class. I have no students in here. To invite your students, you would click on people, and you can click this button right here or copy and paste this right here, and it actually puts your class code, if I zoom in on that a little bit, it puts in your class code right here to share with your students. So you don't have to type in anything. You can just copy this, and then you can paste this to wherever you'd like to paste it. If you are using Google Classroom, you can click this button and it will actually share this right, let's go to teacher sample, right on Google Classroom. I can make this as part of the stream or part of the classwork page. So I'll just do this as an announcement on the stream and hit go. It will format it for me all in this window. And then when I post it into my classroom, I don't have to type or do anything else. My students will just click this button, copy this code, and now they'll be a part of my class, which makes that joining of this classroom a little bit more seamless than it already feels. Co-teachers, or if you're going on maternity leave, which was always an issue that I always had with my co-teachers not being able to get a part of my classroom, they can do that now, but I would be able to invite co-teachers with this teacher code right here. Okay, and that is the Applied Digital Skills curriculum. So we have a lot of really great resources. Again, I do want to remind you about this resource, which is that G Suite certification exam prep, or if you're trying to become a Google for Education certified educator or trainer, that's underneath lessons, the collections. If we scroll on down, or if we just click on the collections to see all of them, I'll zoom out a little bit more. The veterans session is, the lesson is over here, the one I talked to you about for veterans that are trying to re-enter the workforce. And then did I pass? Oh, here it is. The G Suite exam certification lessons are all right here too. Underneath those lessons, I would say that I've used actually this one, which is new, the Capstone Project. This is well loved by administration to encourage your students to create a community service event. And again, I just assign this to them and I tell them, you know, pick a local community, pick a local charity or pick a local small business, and it guides my students through everything. And I can really, you know, I can really harness those authentic relationships with my students while I'm managing them through these projects instead of being completely burnt out from preparing them for them. So I'm going to stop my screen from sharing and come back down onto me and open the floor for if anyone has any questions at all. And I think you're all muted, so obviously don't jump all at once to start asking me questions, and make sure you unmute whenever you do. Okay.
Oh, Susan, I just wanted to say that was a lot and it was wonderful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it is a lot to take in.
Yeah, but it was great. You gave us a really great way to follow along with you, and I think very easy for us to you know, to access it and be able to go back once we're done here. So yeah, wonderful stuff. One question was about assigning it to an adult learner, and you had said we could download those types of things. So there's not a seamless integration into Blackboard or any of the other LMS, but you know, we can do it ourselves. Easier than creating from new.
Yeah, I will say that they're investing a lot right now. Google for Education is investing a lot of time and effort and money into applied digital skills because it's taking off more than they thought that it would and faster than they thought that it would, especially now with remote learning. And there's a lot of teachers that are looking toward these resources. Every time I log in, there's more lessons that they're putting on here. I could definitely see a time eventually where they'll integrate it with other learning management systems for sure. But that time is not today. But again, you can still share some of the content out. I think especially for aspiring teachers or current teachers to know that this resource is out there is something that's pretty great. So. Okay.
Just
yeah.
You can still use Google Classroom. It's not going to be a replacement. Are they working on that? Because I know you said it's not all integrated. That's what I don't really understand. You're setting up classes.
Yes, so I've had a couple people ask me that before. This is not a replacement for Google Classroom. This integrates with Google Classroom. So your students, on the first day of class, I actually give my students a Google Classroom code to join my classroom, and then I give them the Applied Digital Skills code to join my Applied Digital Skills lesson. But then I can take those lessons from Applied Digital Skills and share them out to Google Classroom. An unpopular thing that I say that is, you know, Google spends a lot of energy integrating a nice assessment, a way of collecting assessments in Applied Digital Skills, but from a teacher's perspective, and I think that I have this unique opportunity where I'm a teacher that's also doing these trainings, and I think that I like to keep everything organized on one LMS, right on Google Classroom. So what I like to do is actually take that lesson and make an assignment on my classwork tab on Google Classroom, instead of having my students complete all of their progress. I'll still monitor their progress, but I make all of their submissions come through Google Classroom, just because Google Classroom has such an awesome grading tool now, and so on and so forth. And I tend to be unorganized. Google Classroom is making me more organized. So my students know that if I'm going to assign something to them, I will do that through Google Classroom, but they will still be directed to the Applied Digital Skills site. Does that make sense?
Yes, I just think it's good to have one place to go also.
Yes, no, I agree. And this is something that you can share right on Google Classroom. And then they will, from Google Classroom, they will come here to the resources, but then I personally like to have my students submit everything still on Google Classroom for me to see, as opposed to on Applied Digital Skills. That's just me personally.
Yeah. I love the feedback too that you can give them from Google Classroom.
Yes,
So,
yes.
you know, you can individualize everything, and I think it's great. So,
and Alice, I would definitely recommend using that rubric tool on Applied Digital Skills to integrate rubrics into your Google Classroom too.
yeah, because there's a place there too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's new. Yeah.
A quick question. Maybe I'll wait and see if anyone has it. But I'm using Google Meet, and I love Google Meet because it's a one click. No offense to the Zoom users, but I find kids easily will go into the Google Meet and they won't take the time to log in to Zoom, which is crazy.
Yeah.
But then there's a presentation that's so user friendly. My only question is, because you're an expert in this, I think, what is the difference? Am I limited on how many people come into Google Meet?
With education, and this, side topic, but if you're using Google for Education, or if you have Google Premium Enterprise, you are able to have up to 250 people on each of your Google Meets, and you get unlimited amount of time now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I almost hit the limit. I think I was at 205 in one of my trainings a couple weeks ago. So I got a little nervous, and then I imagined those 205 people sitting in front of me, and then I started to really panic, but it was fine. It was great.
No,
Yeah.
well, you did a great job. Thank you so much.
Of course, Alice. Stay well.
Okay.
All right, we got some.
We are at the 4 o'clock time, and I'm so sorry to say that we do have to end our webinar, but this has really been great information.
Thank you.
Wonderful. We will have the
Thank
video
you.
up on our website, NJCU's Educational Technology Department, under events. I know some of our familiar faces, Michelle and Lamont, are going to be our cohort 8 students, aren't you?
Oh,
Welcome.
congratulations, guys. That's excellent.
Welcome to our doctoral program. You'll see us a lot more in a couple of weeks, I'm sure. We're going to keep you involved. So stay involved with us. We're happy to see you. And thank you so much, Susan, for everything. So much, everyone here, for attending. And we will have more webinars coming up. Stay tuned.
Okay, great. And if you need anything else from me, let me know.
Thank you.
Great job, Sue.
Bye, guys. Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a great day.
Yeah. You owe somebody chocolate.
Oh, gosh, I know.